Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. Somewhere between what we see and what we never will, there is a pull so soft, so ancient, that it almost feels like a lullaby sung by space itself. No one has ever touched it, or seen it, or caught it in a bottle. Yet galaxies curve around it, stars bow to it, planets spin in the hush of its grasp. It is gravity, yes, but not the kind we know. It is gravity made of shadow, of things that hum beneath perception. This is the song of dark matter, the weight of what dreams might be made from. Scientists call it dark not because it is evil or sad, but because it refuses to shine. It does not glow like stars, it does not reflect like moons. It simply exists, hidden, quiet, dreaming. In the stillness of deep space where galaxies hang like lanterns in an endless sea, something invisible holds everything together. Without it, the stars would scatter like mist. Spiral arms of galaxies would unravel. The dance of celestial bodies would stutter and fall apart. But instead, they swirl, steady and graceful, as if following the rhythm of a hidden music. That music is dark matter. And though it makes up more than 5 times as much of the universe as the matter we see, it passes through us, through everything, like a ghost with purpose. You can't touch it, but you can feel its pull, like the hush of a hand you didn't know was there, guiding you gently. Imagine standing in a field at night, looking up at a sky scattered with stars. You feel alone, but you're not. The spaces between those stars are thick with mystery. Every twinkle is cradled by invisible arms. Galaxies, like glowing cities in the void, are spinning far too fast to stay together by visible gravity alone. Something extra must be holding them close. That extra thing, this unlit glue of the cosmos, is dark matter. It doesn't shout. It doesn't even whisper. It just holds on, softly, faithfully, like a dream you forgot upon waking, but still feel in your chest. Once, people thought space was mostly empty. They thought stars and planets were all there was, but as telescopes grew stronger, and as our questions grew quieter and more curious, we realized the visible stuff, the stuff of light and atoms, is just the skin of the universe. Beneath it lies a dark sea, not dark like fear, but dark like deep water. It carries things without being seen. And just like a dream shapes how you wake, dark matter shapes the way galaxies live. It is not decoration, it is foundation. In labs and observatories, scientists search for it like monks chasing ghosts. They build machines underground, shielded from the noise of the world. They look for faint signs, tiny nudges, flickers of change that could mean dark matter has brushed against something real. So far, it remains elusive. But its fingerprints are everywhere. In the bending of light, in the way clusters of galaxies move, in the way the cosmic web stretches like soft threads across the sky. These signs are the footprints of something that does not want to be known, only to be felt. Some think it's made of particles we've never seen. Others imagine fields like fogs that move without wind. Still others dream of hidden dimensions where dark matter walks just behind a curtain we cannot lift. But no one is certain. And maybe that's the most beautiful part. Because dark matter reminds us that not all knowledge is loud. Some truths are gentle, some truths wait in silence, and some truths, like dark matter, are content just to hold us from behind. So next time you look up, remember, that glow you see, that twinkle and blaze, that comet and swirl, it is only half the story. The rest is made of what you cannot see, cannot hear, but still shapes you. It is there in the silence between stars, in the pull of the moon on the tides, in the quiet steadiness of your own spinning planet. The gravity that sings in silence has always been with you, and maybe, just maybe, it always will be. Let's drift deeper now into the soft architecture of the unseen. If dark matter could be heard, it would hum like the slow breath of the universe, steady, rhythmic, full of weightless intention. Imagine the cosmos as a vast tapestry woven not with threads of gold or light, but with lines of presence you cannot see. Each strand connects stars and galaxies like beads on invisible strings, and this silent stitching is what gives shape to everything. Scientists call it the cosmic web, a grand, dark lattice that stretches across the universe like the veins of a leaf, giving life its quiet structure. This web does not sparkle, it does not burn, it only holds. At the intersections of this web, where its filaments knot like soft braids, galaxies bloom like slow roses. The matter we know, stars, planets, gas, gathers there, drawn by the hidden pull of something deeper. It's as if dark matter builds a skeleton, and visible matter drapes itself over it like skin. Without that skeleton, the cosmos would be formless, a drifting mist of light and dust. But with it, there is balance, there is shape, there is story. And the story is still being told, not in words, but in motion. In the swirling arms of galaxies, in the clustering of stars, in the gravitational echoes that ripple through time. Think of the Milky Way, your home among the stars. It spins with elegance, its spiral arms curling like soft waves. But its visible mass isn't enough to explain this balance. There must be more, something quiet, something dark wrapping around it like a cradle. Scientists believe a halo of dark matter surrounds the Milky Way, vast and gentle, keeping everything in place. You cannot see this halo, but it is there, like a quiet parent watching over the dreams of a child. It curves around the galaxy like a sigh, holding the stars in a slow, steady orbit that would not be possible otherwise. Without it, everything might fly apart. And this quiet companion doesn't just hold galaxies, it shapes how they meet, how they merge, how they fall in love with each other through gravitational dance. In the deep past, when the universe was young, dark matter gathered in clumps, small and simple at first. These clumps became the seeds of galaxies. The light followed the darkness, not the other way around. It was the invisible hand of dark matter that moulded the stage for everything we now call visible reality. Stars came after, planets came after, life too came after, but the dark came first. You can almost feel it now, that sensation of being carried by something you do not understand, like a boat drifting on a current you cannot name. You are part of a universe held in place by kindness you will never touch. And this kindness does not ask for attention. It does not cry out. It simply holds. It simply is. Perhaps there is a lesson in that, about how presence can be powerful even when it is silent, about how things that cannot be seen can still be the most important. Some scientists study dark matter by watching how it bends light. When a galaxy lies behind a clump of dark matter, the light from that distant galaxy stretches and curves as if passing through a river of glass. This bending is called gravitational lensing, and it is one of the clearest fingerprints dark matter leaves behind. The curves and warps of starlight show us where dark matter gathers, even though the matter itself stays invisible. It's like watching the shadow of a bird in flight, even when the bird itself has no shape. Through these graceful distortions, we glimpse the architecture of a cosmos stitched with silence. And what of Earth? What of you? You too are held in this dark embrace. The solar system swims in a sea of dark matter, moving slowly through it like a whale through still waters. Each second, trillions of dark matter particles may pass through your body, through the floor, through the sky, quiet, distant, indifferent. They do not touch you in any way you can feel, and they're there. Scientists hope that one day, with enough patience and stillness, they might catch a flicker of that passage. A single interaction, a small sign that the dream has edges. And while we wait for that sign, we imagine. We paint the unseen with metaphor, with poetry, with soft science that wraps itself around wonder. Maybe dark matter is a memory, a relic from the first heartbeat of the universe. Maybe it is the fingerprint of dimensions we cannot enter, but which press softly against ours. Or maybe it is something even simpler, just a kind of matter that is quiet, humble, unlit, and unknowably patient. Whatever it is, it invites reflection. It reminds us that the loudest things are not always the strongest, that silence has gravity, that absence can hold more meaning than presence. In a world so full of noise and light, dark matter is the pause, the breath, the stillness between notes. It is the part of the universe that teaches us to look not just at what shines, but at what gently shapes the shine, and so we float dreamlike through its arms, touched by something vast and kind, even if we never truly know its name. Now imagine the end of a long day in the cosmos, if such a thing could exist. The stars begin to hum a little softer, their light pulsing like the breath of someone asleep. All the galaxies, spinning like lullabies, keep to their paths, swayed not by noise or impulse, but by a steadiness that has no voice. This is where dark matter lives, in the still, in the in-between, in the quiet rhythms that never break. It does not age like stars, does not burn out or flicker. It remains ancient and essential, like the frame of a house holding up the warmth within. And in that soft strength there is comfort. There is peace, there is the promise of something holding the universe steady, even when everything else changes. Somewhere in the curve of time, scientists imagine a map, not of continents or oceans, but of gravity itself, of how things pull and lean and settle. This map does not come from telescopes alone. It comes from listening to how the light behaves, how it shifts, how it bends. They study collisions between galaxies, like slow-motion storms of stars, and they see that the visible matter often moves apart, but something else lingers behind. That something is dark matter. It does not scatter. It does not break. It simply stays. And in that staying we find one more truth. Sometimes to be unchanging is the greatest gift. Consider how we build our lives. On what is seen, yes, but also on things unseen. Hope, memory, gravity. We do not question the air that holds our breath, or the silence that lets music sound. Dark matter is like this. It does not need to be known in order to be true. It does not need to glow to be felt. And maybe that is what makes it sacred in a quiet way. It asks for nothing. It expects no praise. It simply supports the cosmos in its slow and endless spinning. In this, dark matter feels almost like love. Not the kind we name or the kind that burns bright, but the kind that is always there beneath everything, shaping the very paths we walk. In the still chambers of the earth, deep underground, detectors lie in wait. They are like monks in stone cloisters, patient and listening. They wait for the rarest sign, a dark matter particle brushing softly against a nucleus. No flash, no boom, just a tiny nudge in the dark. Decades may pass with no sign at all, and yet the search continues. Because to find even one moment of contact would be to hear the universe whisper back. It would be a signal that the dream has weight, that the invisible has fingers, gently outstretched, that what holds us all has a shape, however slight. But even if the whisper never comes, the story is still beautiful. Because the search itself is a lullaby, a way of honouring mystery, of saying that silence matters. Dark matter teaches us patience. It shows us that not all things need to be solved to be sacred. Sometimes it is enough just to know they are there. It's a lesson the stars seem to follow well. They shine because of fusion, yes, but they remain where they are because of dark matter's embrace. It does not shine, but it holds. It does not speak, but it listens. It does not rush, but it stays. And so we rest, wrapped in the hush of it. Our galaxy, like a great turning leaf, floats in this invisible sea, and we, small and dreaming, are carried along without knowing. The gravity that sings in silence is with us always, in the curve of the earth beneath our feet, in the swirl of the moon's tide, in the long sweep of time that brought life from dust. It is the quiet parent of the cosmos, holding gently, never letting go, and even if we never see its face, we know it by what it gives, structure, peace, and the soft music of motion. You may never touch it, you may never hear it, but you live inside it. Every breath you take, every night you sleep, every star you wish upon is part of its dream. And maybe, just maybe, that dream is the universe itself, a slow, silent unfolding in which every light is cradled by darkness, every note held by a pause, every life carried by something unseen. In that there is comfort. In that there is awe. In that there is the deep, quiet truth that even the softest things can hold a world together. There is a web stretched across the universe, not woven by spiders, nor crafted by hands, but drawn by gravity and time, and held together by threads no one has ever seen. These are not strands of silk or light. They are made of dark matter, spun softly through space like invisible filaments holding everything in place. They do not shimmer, they do not sing, but they move with a kind of grace that only the cosmos understands. Scientists call this delicate pattern the cosmic web, and though we cannot see it directly, it carries galaxies like leaves on a hidden stream. You're drifting on one of those leaves now, your entire planet cradled in its gentle grip. The stars that you see each night are not floating freely. They are bound to galaxies, and those galaxies are not adrift at random. They cling to filaments, long and nearly unbroken, that stretch for millions of light years. In between these filaments are vast, dark voids, regions almost entirely empty where matter rarely dares to gather. The structure is not random. It is a whisper of order written in the silence of space. It is as if something ancient passed through the universe once, leaving long, delicate trails of presence in its wake. These trails became the framework for everything we know, and though we cannot touch them, we can feel their guidance in the way galaxies form, the way they cluster, and the way light bends as it passes by. Now imagine floating beside one of these threads. It would not glow or pulse, it would not move or flicker, but it would be there, stronger than stone, quieter than shadow. The galaxies it holds might drift slowly, their arms spinning like dancers balanced on a thin wire. Gravity moves along these threads like wind through tall grass, and matter gathers where the strands intersect. These intersections become the knots where galaxies bloom, where clusters are born, where stars ignite. The cosmic web does not create light, but it gives light a place to live. It is not seen, but it is the reason the universe has shape. Long ago, when the universe was still young and soft, matter began to clump. Some regions grew slightly denser than others, and gravity leaned in, pulling more and more toward these spots. Dark matter, though silent and invisible, played the role of a quiet architect. It moved first, gathering into filaments that laid out the foundation. Regular matter, gas and dust and atoms, followed suit, collecting along these invisible paths, forming stars, then galaxies, then superclusters. Without dark matter's guiding hand, the universe would not look as it does today. There would be no great walls of galaxies, no vast chains of light stretching across space, just a haze, directionless and dim. But instead, there are patterns, gentle, graceful, and vast beyond imagining. If you could shrink the universe down, folding it gently like a piece of paper, and look at its structure from afar, you would see something beautiful. You would see strands, branching and curling, connecting clusters of galaxies across incomprehensible distances. You would see emptiness too, but even the emptiness has meaning shaped by what surrounds it. It would look almost like the roots of a tree, or the capillaries of a lung, or the filaments of frost on a cold window. Nature, it seems, loves to repeat itself. What lives in our bodies echoes what lives in the stars. And though we cannot see the web itself, we have found ways to trace its outline. Telescopes observe how galaxies are spread across the sky. They see how they cluster, how they string together in narrow paths, how they avoid the great voids. Computer simulations, powered by equations and care, create the structure from the first moments after the Big Bang. These simulations do not just match what we see, they explain it. The invisible threads of dark matter are necessary. Without them, the patterns fall apart. Without them, the universe makes no sense. There is a kind of poetry in that, isn't there? That something unseen can guide everything. That the strongest structures in the universe are made of what cannot be touched. It is a quiet kind of strength, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that never fails. The cosmic web does not break. It does not fade. It holds galaxies for billions of years, cradling them in the same positions they held when the first stars were born. And it continues to hold them now, even as the light from those stars travels outward, crossing the emptiness, reaching your eyes at last. Perhaps dark matter's finest work is in these threads. They are its signature. Left behind in the architecture of space, they do not need praise or discovery. They do not ask to be seen. They are content just to hold, just to guide, just to let the visible world rise and fall in their care. In that way, they are like the quietest moments of your life, the ones you do not remember clearly, but which shaped you all the same. A quiet word, a soft gesture, a still night when the stars felt closer than usual. This is the beauty of the invisible web. It does not shimmer, yet it shines. It does not move, yet it makes motion possible. It does not glow, yet it gives light a path. And as you drift in your galaxy, which drifts in this web, which stretches across the universe like an old song hummed under breath, you are held in place by something older than memory, something softer than silence, something that asks for nothing but gives everything in return. Let us drift even deeper into the stillness between galaxies, into the quiet tension where light and darkness share the same breath. If you close your eyes and imagine the universe not as an endless sky, but as a single living thing, you might picture the cosmic web as its nervous system. Long filaments stretch and connect, pulsing gently with gravitational signals, allowing matter to move, to gather, to remember where it belongs. These threads are not made of nerves or cells, but of dark matter. This ancient, invisible substance that does not speak, yet communicates through gravity. It tells galaxies where to form. It tells stars where to rest. It holds the cosmos together not with noise, but with presence. The more scientists peer into the deep past using light from ancient stars, the more they realize that dark matter moved first. It shaped the early universe in silence, long before stars began to shine. When the cosmos was young, hot, dense, and humming with energy, dark matter already knew where to gather. It clumped together into filaments, drawing ordinary matter toward its embrace. These gentle gatherings became rivers of future light. Over time, hydrogen flowed along these hidden paths, cooling and settling, forming clouds that would give birth to the first stars. The dark threads did not command, they only suggested, and the universe, like a child learning to walk, followed their silent lead. Even now, billions of years later, we are only beginning to see the full outline of this structure. Scientists use computer models to simulate the universe from its first flickers of existence. They enter simple laws of physics, gravity, expansion, time, and let dark matter guide the results. What emerges is stunning, a lacework of filaments stretching across space, just as observations suggest. The galaxies do not appear at random. They bloom along the strands like flowers tracing veins in a leaf. These simulations match the real universe so well, it's as if dark matter itself were painting through equations. And what is most curious is how gently this structure persists. The cosmic web is not rigid. It shifts, stretches, and grows as space expands. It is flexible like thread, yet unbreakable like stone. It is both tender and timeless. As galaxies move along its paths, they sometimes meet, collide, and merge. These great collisions, like slow dances between giants, are not chaotic. They are choreographed by gravity, which flows along the dark filaments, guiding every step. In this way, the cosmic web is not just a skeleton, it is a stage. It hosts the drama of star formation, of galactic journeys, of light born from dust. And all of it unfolds because of what lies beneath. The voids between the filaments are just as telling. These are the great empty regions of space, places where dark matter did not gather, where gravity did not pull. They are not truly empty, but compared to the rich, crowded filaments, they seem like oceans without islands. These voids are calm, vast, and quiet. They remind us that absence too can shape reality. The cosmic web is not just made of what is there, it is also made of where things did not go. The gaps give the structure its tension, its balance, its meaning. Just as silence gives music its beauty, the voids give the filaments their grace. And within the web, your galaxy moves. The Milky Way is not drifting alone through space. It follows a gentle slope in the web, drawn toward other clusters, other knots where dark matter gathers. It is part of a larger flow, a current of motion so slow, so grand, that it takes billions of years to unfold. This movement is not chaotic, but purposeful. It flows toward what scientists call the Great Attractor, a region so massive that it bends space itself. And yet, even this pull is believed to be shaped by the cosmic web, by the long invisible strands that guide the largest motions in the universe. You're not separate from this. Every atom in your body was once part of a star. That star was born in a galaxy, which formed in a filament which grew from dark matter. You're a ripple in a ripple in a ripple, all resting on threads you will never see, and still, those threads hold you. They hold the planet beneath your feet. They hold the sun that warms your skin. They hold the stars that guide you at night. You are a guest in their gentle embrace, floating on a bridge built before light itself began. Perhaps that is what dark matter teaches us best, not just about structure or science, but about trust. The universe does not always reveal its hand. It does not always show the ropes that hold it together. And yet those ropes are there. The cosmic web does not shout. It does not demand to be seen, it simply supports, quietly and forever. And in that there is something deeply human. We too are shaped by unseen forces, memory, emotion, connection. We too are held by threads we cannot name, family, love, wonder. These are our own dark filaments, and they too shape the light of our lives. So as we float within this vast, invisible tapestry, we do not need to understand every thread to feel its care. We only need to listen, to pause, to imagine the strands that stretch across space, and to remember that even the quietest things can be strong enough to hold a universe. Now, let us return to the stillness, not to explain more, but to feel what has already been said. The cosmic web is not just a structure, it is a softness beneath the stars, a gentle order that does not clamour for attention, but makes all beauty possible. Every galaxy, every orbit, every whisper of light owes its path to this vast and silent framework. And still, most of it will never be seen. That is the miracle, that something so essential can remain invisible and yet be everywhere. The threads of the web are not sharp or tense. They are smooth, slow, patient. They do not push, they do not pull harshly. They allow, they suggest, they cradle. And because of that, the universe has a shape. Because of that, it can sing. As time flows forward, like ink spreading slowly across a page, the filaments stretch ever longer. The expansion of the universe tugs gently at the web, pulling galaxies apart, but the dark matter threads hold on. They do not resist the change, they adapt. Where the gravity is strong, the threads thicken. Where it is weaker, they grow long and fine like spider silk across vast emptiness. And within those threads, galaxies continue to form. Stars continue to burn, planets continue to spin. Life, rare, quiet, miraculous, blooms in corners, unaware of the filaments that made its home possible. Perhaps that is the truest kind of gift, to create and never ask to be thanked. The cosmic web does not end. It continues far beyond what we can see, past the last glowing galaxies, into realms we will never touch. And yet it also begins right here, beneath your very breath. The atoms in your body carry the echo of ancient collisions, of hydrogen drawn along invisible strands, of gas gathering in dark places to become stars, and stars becoming dust, and dust becoming you. You are not apart from the web. You're woven into it. You're not just watching the universe. You're part of the way it holds itself together. This changes the way we might think about darkness. In human life, we often fear what cannot be seen. We fill silence with sound, darkness with light, absence with words. But the universe does not seem to share this fear. It trusts its invisible structure. It trusts the web. It lets it hold and shape and carry without needing to reveal. Perhaps we can learn something from this, that what is hidden is not always empty, that silence does not mean nothing is happening, that darkness too can be full of care. And what about the future? The web will continue to stretch, thinning in places, thickening in others. Galaxies will keep moving along its gentle curves, drawn toward one another, colliding, merging, glowing for a time before fading. Stars will live and die. New ones will be born. The universe will grow colder, slower, but the pattern will endure. The threads will remain, long after the lights have dimmed, like the bones of a great tree whose leaves have all fallen, still present, still holding, still beautiful in their quiet way. One day, perhaps, far into the future, when the stars have burned low and the skies have grown dark, there may still be beings who wonder about the shape of things. They may look at the emptiness and sense, somehow, that there was once a web, stretching through space, holding light and time and memory in its soft embrace. And maybe they'll know that the universe, though vast and silent, was never random. It was never alone. It was guided by something kind and invisible, something that asked for no glory, only the chance to hold. And so, in the stillness of now, as you breathe and listen, and let the quiet settle, know that you are part of that same story. You are held by the soft threads of the invisible web. You are cradled in a design older than stars, more delicate than wind, more patient than time. You may not see it, but it sees you. You may not hear it, but it moves with you. And in that there is something deeply peaceful, something eternal. So rest, knowing the filaments will not fail. Drift, knowing you are never truly alone. Dream, knowing the universe itself dreams with you, woven softly into place, one invisible strand at a time. There is a veil stretched across the face of the cosmos. It is not made of cloth or cloud or shadow, but of mystery itself. A curtain drawn lightly across the stars, soft enough to pass through, yet firm enough to hide. Beneath this veil lie whispers, subtle, ancient murmurings that drift between galaxies like forgotten songs. They are not the cries of stars or the echoes of light, but something quieter, something slower, something that waits. Scientists listen carefully, not with ears but with instruments and equations, trying to catch these whispers and trace them back to their source. What they find beneath the veil is not empty space but a quiet fullness, a presence that shapes the cosmos from the shadows. It begins with the darkness between the stars, a darkness so vast it feels endless, yet not empty. For too long we believed the universe was made only of what we could see, stars, planets, gas. But slowly, gently, the truth emerged. Most of what exists is invisible, and this veil, this soft cover over all things, is made of that invisibility. Dark matter does not block our sight. It simply exists beyond it. It does not announce itself. It waits, like breath behind glass, shaping the patterns of galaxies, the bending of light, the very structure of time and space. The whispers beneath the veil are not words. They are movements, curves, dances of gravity we do not yet understand. When light travels from a distant galaxy, it must pass through the veil. And sometimes it bends, not because it chooses to, but because something unseen bends space itself. This bending is not abrupt. It is graceful like the flow of water around a stone. The light curves, stretches, arrives with a signature changed by its journey. Astronomers call this gravitational lensing, and it is one of the few ways we can trace the shape of the veil. The light does not lie. It carries the fingerprint of dark matter, of the hidden mass that cradles galaxies and sculpts the universe. In this way, light becomes a messenger, and the veil becomes a map, soft, silent, and sacred. Imagine standing beneath a tree whose branches you cannot see. You feel the shade, you see the dappled light, you sense the shape, even if your eyes cannot trace it. This is how we know the veil. We feel its presence in the way galaxies cling to their clusters, in the way stars spin at speeds that visible gravity alone cannot explain. We sense it in the slow swirl of galaxies too large to stay whole without help. Something unseen, something gentle but strong is holding them together. That something is beneath the veil, that something is whispering in the dark. And those whispers stretch back through time. When the universe was young, still glowing with the heat of its own birth, the veil was already in place. The dark matter had already begun to gather, shaping the first webs of structure, guiding the first atoms into place. Before the first stars flared into being, before the first galaxies danced across the sky, the veil was there, not covering but supporting, not hiding but guiding. Like a hand beneath a newborn's back, it held the cosmos gently, allowing it to grow, and those first whispers, so soft, so quiet, still echo today in the way matter moves, in the way time unfolds. There are scientists who spend their whole lives listening for those echoes. They search the microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, for signs of the veil's touch. They look for tiny variations, small ripples, barely noticeable changes in temperature that might hint at where dark matter gathered, where it moved, where it whispered first. These signals are faint, but they are real, and in their quiet persistence they tell a story of a universe shaped not by light, but by what lies behind it, not by what shines, but by what supports the shine. It is a strange feeling to know that the things we rely on most are often the things we cannot see. Gravity itself, though we feel its pull, remains invisible. Time, though we move through it, cannot be touched. And so too with dark matter. It is not the villain of space nor its ghost. It is its framework, its foundation, its breath. The veil it weaves is not a wall but a cradle. It wraps galaxies in a slow embrace, not to trap them but to let them dance without falling apart. Perhaps the veil is not meant to be pierced. Perhaps it is meant to remain, to keep some mystery alive in a world that grows brighter with knowledge every day. Maybe what matters most is not solving the riddle, but listening to the whispers. They tell us that there is more than what we know, that the universe has layers of meaning we have not yet reached, that the dark is not empty but full of story, full of shape, full of quiet intent. So let the veil stay, let it drift softly between stars, let it catch the light and curve it gently, let it hold the galaxies, the atoms, the dreams of scientists watching the sky. Let it remind us that not everything beautiful must be seen, and that sometimes the quietest whispers are the ones that shape the world the most. Let's drift deeper into the hush behind the stars, where the veil does more than hide, it weaves. This veil, this soft blanket of dark matter, is not just a screen draped across space. It is a loom, and the universe is its fabric. Every strand of light, every stream of time, every distant galaxy is touched by its hidden hand. And while the stars may shout with brightness, the veil hums with continuity. It does not shine, but it shapes. It does not announce itself, but its absence would unravel everything. The veil is not silence. It is structure whispered so gently we mistake it for stillness. In the quiet places of the cosmos, far from the clamour of stars and the chaos of collisions, dark matter gathers into halos, soft, massive cocoons that cradle galaxies like fragile lanterns. These halos are not visible. You could fly through one and feel nothing, but they are there, wrapping entire galaxies in their invisible arms, allowing them to spin and grow and remain whole. The stars are like fireflies caught in these unseen spheres, glowing and swirling, safe in their luminous dance. Without the halos, without the veil, these stars would scatter like dust in a breeze. There would be no spiral arms, no galactic hearts, only fragments, only echoes. And just as galaxies are held together by these halos, so too are galaxy clusters. The veil extends outward, binding not just single galaxies, but entire communities of light. The Virgo cluster, the Coma cluster, the Great Attractor. These are not merely gatherings of stars, but knots in the veil. Places where the dark matter is dense, where the whispers are strongest. Where gravity, guided by the veil, draws galaxies into communion. The spaces between these clusters are wide and quiet, but even there the veil stretches thin, like silk across emptiness, like breath across time. We know the veil exists not because we see it, but because of how everything else behaves. Stars on the outer edges of galaxies orbit far too fast, as if pulled by something more than just visible mass. Light from distant galaxies bends too much, curves too far, suggesting the presence of an invisible sculptor. And the patterns in the cosmic microwave background, the ancient glow of the Big Bang, show ripples and waves that could only have been caused by something massive, something unseen. The whispers beneath the veil are not shouts, but the gentle rearrangement of everything we know. They are the small hands behind the curtain, adjusting the set, making sure the stage remains intact. And what does the veil say, if we are quiet enough to listen? It says, not all strength must be seen. It says, the most important forces are sometimes the most invisible. It says, presence can be soft and still unshakable. This is not the voice of thunder, but of time itself. The veil has been here since before stars had names. It shaped the universe before it had galaxies. It holds steady now as we learn and wonder and reach. And it will remain long after the last star flickers out. There are stories hidden in the way the veil behaves. Some believe it is made of particles that barely interact with anything else. WIMPs, axions, sterile neutrinos, particles that slip through matter like wind through reeds. Others think it may be something even stranger, a property of space itself, or a trace from another dimension pressing lightly against ours. No one knows. The veil does not explain itself. It offers only its influence and asks us to imagine the rest. And so the search continues. Scientists build detectors deep underground, far from cosmic noise, hoping to catch the briefest sign, a particle of dark matter bumping into something ordinary. They observe galaxies, map gravitational lensing, chart the expansion of space. Every whisper is noted. Every curve, every flicker, every drift becomes part of the story. And though the veil never lifts, its shape becomes clearer with each new trace. We see it not with our eyes, but with the careful accumulation of wonder. There is poetry in this process, in listening for what does not speak, in tracing what cannot be touched, in finding meaning in the way light bends, in the way galaxies cluster, in the way the universe breathes. The veil teaches us that reality is layered, that what we see is only one surface of the truth, that beneath the stars lies another kind of brilliance, a quiet, supportive brilliance that asks nothing in return. As you sit under the night sky, as you feel the smallness of your place in the cosmos, remember that you too are shaped by whispers. Your life is guided by forces you cannot name: memory, emotion, connection, gravity. You are not separate from the veil, you are part of it. Every atom in your body passed through its threads. Every thought you've had has been held by the quiet structure of the universe. And perhaps that is the greatest whisper of all, that we are not only watching the veil, but are woven into it. That its presence is not just around us, but within us. That the stillness behind the stars echoes in our bones. That the unseen is never truly apart from what is seen, but gently, constantly holding it in place. Now imagine the veil as something alive, not in the way a creature breathes, but in the way silence listens. It stretches from one edge of the universe to the other, unseen and patient, shaping without force. It moves without rushing, responds without reply. In the grand stillness of space, where stars flicker and fade like fireflies in a sleeping forest, the veil remains. It does not hurry, it does not age, it does not rise and fall, it is constant, like the space between heartbeats, like the pause in a breath. And through it, the universe moves gracefully, quietly tethered to something more permanent than time. Scientists once thought the universe would slow down, its expansion gradually pulling back like the tide returning to sea. But instead, they discovered something more mysterious. The universe is not just expanding, it is accelerating. Galaxies are moving away from each other faster and faster, as though something unseen is pushing them apart. They named this force dark energy. It is not the same as dark matter, but it too hides beneath the veil. And together, these two unknowns, dark matter and dark energy, compose nearly everything that exists. What we see, what we measure with telescopes and satellites and equations, is only a sliver, a shimmer on the surface. The rest lives beneath. And yet the veil does not demand to be understood. It does not resist our curiosity, but it does not yield its full nature either. It is as if the universe is wrapped in a kind of secrecy that invites wonder rather than fear. A soft kind of mystery, where not knowing feels like permission to imagine. So we keep imagining. We create models, we run simulations, we sketch diagrams of things we may never touch. In our questions, we draw closer, not to certainty but to intimacy. We begin to feel the veil not as a barrier but as a presence, something that holds us, watches us, allows us to dream. Think of how much we depend on what we cannot see, the roots beneath the trees, the bones beneath the skin, the feelings we carry without speaking. In this way, the cosmos is familiar. It hides what matters most. It lets the visible world shine brightly while the invisible world holds it gently in place. Dark matter does not glow, but it gives structure. Dark energy does not ripple, but it gives motion. The veil is not a wall, it is the quiet trust that the universe continues, even when we cannot see why. And so we wonder, what else lies beneath this veil? What layers of reality have not yet been touched by our instruments? Some imagine that dark matter could be a gateway to other realms, dimensions stacked beyond ours like pages in a book. Others believe it is a relic from before time, a leftover echo from a moment that no longer exists. There are theories, yes, but there is also the deeper, softer truth that not everything must be explained. Some things are simply here, and that is enough. The veil teaches patience. It teaches us to listen not just to noise, but to quiet. It asks us to accept what we cannot measure, to honour the shapes we cannot trace. Beneath the veil, the cosmos is not silent. It is humming. It is breathing. It is alive with patterns too delicate for our current minds. But with each passing year, with each new discovery, we come closer to hearing its rhythm. We learn not by peeling it away, but by moving in step with it, by feeling its pull, by watching how the light curves and the stars dance. One day we may lift part of the veil. We may name the particles, solve the equations, reveal the face behind the gravity. But even then, something will remain unseen, because mystery is not a flaw in the universe, it is part of its design. Just as sleep is not the absence of waking, but a state in itself, the veil is not what hides the universe. It is what gives the universe room to unfold slowly, softly, without rush. And in that softness there is grace. In that delay there is wonder. In that mystery there is peace. So as you lie beneath your own small sky, with the stars above you and the earth below, know this: you are wrapped in the same veil. You are made of atoms shaped by its hands. You are held in its quiet net, floating through a universe you do not need to understand in order to belong to. You are not outside of the mystery. You are inside it. Let the veil remain. Let the whispers continue. Let the unseen hold you as it holds the galaxies, the starlight, the centuries. You do not have to lift the veil to know that it loves you gently, endlessly, and without condition. Far out in the quiet reaches of the cosmos, galaxies drift like dreamers, their arms outstretched in spirals and halos, their stars glowing softly like embers in a vast celestial hush. And just like dreamers, some of them sleep. Not the sleep of death, but a deep, slow rest, a suspension of creation, a pause in the rhythm of light. Astronomers call them quenched galaxies, but their stillness feels more poetic than clinical. These are galaxies that once burned brightly, birthing stars by the thousands, their cores alive with energy. But now their fires have faded, their clouds have cooled. They turn slowly in a sleep that may last forever, or only until the universe breathes them awake again. To understand the sleep of galaxies, you must first understand their life. Galaxies are not static. They are places of motion, of birth, of collision and growth. Inside them, clouds of hydrogen drift and collapse, forming stars that shine for billions of years. These stars give warmth, they give light, they give meaning. They pull planets into orbit, they send radiation sweeping through the interstellar medium. They build the heavy elements that become dust and rock and life. A young galaxy is noisy with creation, a nursery of suns and winds and movement. But all creation must one day slow. In some galaxies, the fuel begins to run low, the clouds thin out, the conditions change, the birth rate of stars falters, then fades. These galaxies are not destroyed, they are not erased, they simply fall quiet. Like a forest settling into winter, they stop blooming. They continue to spin, their stars continue to shine, but new stars are no longer born. The music softens, the rhythm slows, and the galaxy slips into sleep. Some galaxies are born sleeping. They form in an environment so empty, so stripped of gas, that they never ignite with star formation. Others are lulled to rest by outside forces. Collisions with other galaxies can strip away their fuel. The black holes at their centers, massive, silent, ancient, can erupt with jets that heat the surrounding gas, making it too energetic to settle and form stars. In their effort to feed, these black holes sometimes cause a kind of accidental stillness, preventing the very processes that made them possible. It is a paradox written in starlight. The engines of creation are also the bringers of sleep. In clusters of galaxies, enormous families bound together by gravity, the sleep spreads more easily. Galaxies jostle and collide. Gas is pulled and stretched and flung into space. The spaces between galaxies in a cluster are filled with hot plasma, too turbulent for calm star formation. And so many of these galaxies grow old together, their light fading in quiet harmony, their spirals softening into elliptical shapes. They become collections of ancient stars, glowing faintly, moving slowly, dreaming silently. It is not sadness, it is not loss, it is a natural part of cosmic time. Just as stars live and die, so too do galaxies breathe in and out through cycles of birth and stillness. Even in sleep, galaxies are not forgotten. Light still escapes from their stars, travelling for millions or billions of years, reaching us like messages from a time before quiet. Their shapes remain etched against the dark fabric of space. Their gravity still pulls on nearby galaxies, guiding motion, weaving part of the larger cosmic web. In their stillness, they are not absent. They are foundational. Like the roots of a tree beneath the soil, their influence endures even without new leaves. And sometimes galaxies do wake again. A collision, a stream of fresh gas, a close encounter with a neighbour. Any of these can stir the sleeping. The quiet can break and star formation can rise once more. What was dormant becomes radiant. What was paused begins again. These awakenings are rare, but they remind us that the universe is not static. It is alive with change, even in its most silent places. The sleep of galaxies invites us to think differently about time. Human lives are brief flickers compared to the lifetimes of stars, the breaths of galaxies. What seems like a frozen stillness to us is, in truth, a single frame in a longer dance. A galaxy that slumbers for 1 billion years is not dead. It is resting, waiting, turning slowly in the dark. And even if it never wakes again, its sleep is part of the story, part of the texture, part of the poetry of a universe that understands both light and shadow, both creation and calm. So as we gaze up at the night sky, we are not just looking at what is bright. We are looking at what was bright, what might be bright again, and what glows softly in the stillness of sleep. We are witnessing not just the energy of the present, but the memory of the past and the possibility of rest. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, holds space for both movement and stillness, for both fire and silence. It knows how to slow down, it knows how to sleep. Let us drift even further into this quiet, into the soft hum of the galaxies that have slowed their fire and found peace in stillness. The sleep of galaxies is not a forgetting, it is not an absence, it is a kind of cosmic meditation, a way of being that asks for nothing but time. These galaxies do not shout with new stars, but they whisper of old ones. Their light is gentler now, more golden than blue, more settled than fierce. What they no longer create, they remember. Their orbits remain, their spirals continue, even if their furnaces have cooled. They carry memory in every glowing star, every slow drift of dust that once flared to life and now circles quietly like a thought long held. The stars within a sleeping galaxy live long lives. Without the chaos of new births, there is less gas to stir, less pressure to change. The environment becomes serene. Like a lake with no wind, the galaxy becomes calm. The older stars grow cooler, fainter, redder. Many are giants nearing the end of their lives, casting out their outer layers in soft, glowing clouds. These nebulae drift across the galactic sky like veils of light, remnants of stars who once burned hot and now exhale their last. There are fewer explosions here, fewer supernovae. The drama has passed, leaving behind a kind of cosmic twilight that stretches for eons. Still, within these slumbering giants, black holes remain. Ancient and massive, they sit at the centres of galaxies like deep wells of time. They are mostly quiet now, having consumed what they could long ago, but their presence endures. Like the heartbeat of a sleeping animal, they pulse with gravity, keeping the rhythm even in stillness. These black holes remember everything. They have seen the galaxy at its brightest and now watch over it in its rest. If the right stream of gas ever flows near again, they may stir, light up, and once more sing in radio waves and X-rays, momentarily rousing the galaxy from its dreams. Scientists study these sleeping galaxies not with noise, but with light. Faint, steady light from ancient stars. They map their shapes, measure their motion, trace their history through the fingerprints of their spectra. And in doing so, they learn what it means to live long and quiet. These galaxies are not relics. They are teachers. They show us what happens after the fire, after the creation. They remind us that there is life in silence, that there is structure even in stillness. They are the mature faces of the universe, the elders in the galactic family. Some of these galaxies were once wild and full of light. They collided with others in dazzling spirals of motion, their gas clouds igniting into furious bursts of star formation. They grew rapidly, consumed quickly, and then, as if out of breath, they slowed. The collision subsided, the fuel thinned, the light dimmed, and what was once a luminous celebration became a soft, enduring hush. This is not failure, this is not loss. This is the natural cycle of time where energy gives way to reflection and creation to continuity. There is beauty in this. A sleeping galaxy is not empty. It is full of memory, full of light that has simply chosen to last instead of burn. Its stars are quieter, yes, but they endure. They drift in perfect orbits, balanced by the mass of the galaxy itself, which has settled into something vast and calm. Over time, even its shape may change. Spirals soften into ellipses. Arms dissolve into halos, but its presence remains, a quiet sculpture of gravity and light. Astronomers often compare galaxies to people. Some are young and full of energy, spinning fast, glowing blue with the heat of newborn stars. Others are mature, slower, richer in metals and memories. And then there are the old ones, the ones that have seen many cycles, many dances, many collisions. These are the sleeping galaxies. They are not gone. They are not past. They are simply in a different season. One of depth, one of wisdom, one of still watching. And even in their sleep, they are part of something larger. The universe does not forget them. Gravity does not ignore them. They are part of the great dance, even if their steps are slower. They influence nearby galaxies, shaping the flows of matter, the paths of light. They are like old stones in a river, changing the water even without moving. Their stillness has a gravity. Their quiet has weight. So when we look at the sky and wonder what is happening out there, we must remember, sometimes, what is most profound is what is not happening. The pauses between moments, the space between stars, the galaxies that sleep yet still shine. They are reminders that the universe is not a single rhythm, but a symphony of tempos, some fast, some slow, some resting, yet still part of the music. The sleep of galaxies is not an end. It is an interlude, a breath, a place where the cosmos gathers its thoughts before the next flare of wonder. And in that breath there is room for us to imagine, to reflect, and to feel the peace of a universe that knows how to rest. Now let us linger with these galaxies a little longer, in the cradle of their rest, where motion is slow and light is old and time itself seems to stretch into something softer. The sleep of galaxies is not a void to be feared, but a kind of cosmic grace, permission to continue without urgency. These galaxies have given their light to the universe. They have burned and created and collided, and now they simply are. Their presence is enough. Their silence speaks, and in that silence there is a kind of fullness that noise can never carry. They are not waiting. They are not ending. They are existing in a state beyond need, beyond the drive to shine brighter, move faster, grow larger. It is a kind of galactic exhale. Even in their slumber they leave fingerprints across the cosmos. Their gravity still sculpts the path of nearby galaxies. Their ancient stars send photons drifting toward us, carrying histories of fire and distance. These photons reach our telescopes as pale golden light, light that has travelled millions, sometimes billions of years to touch the senses of a curious mind on a small planet. In these particles of light, the sleeping galaxies still whisper, "We were here, we shaped this, we burned, and now we breathe." Sometimes we glimpse these old galaxies at great distances, their light stretched into red by the expanding universe. They are like messages in a bottle, sent from a time when the cosmos was young and becoming. We see them as they were, not as they are. We see their bright past, not their present peace. But if we could fly to them now, across the vastness of space, we would find a different rhythm. We would find galaxies that have quieted, galaxies that have settled into slow rotations, filled with aging stars, wrapped in halos of dark matter, their cores glowing gently with the ember light of time. Some of these galaxies are giants, massive ellipticals at the centres of clusters, fed long ago by collisions and rivers of gas. Others are smaller, quieter, barely visible against the cosmic backdrop, like forgotten dreams floating just beneath the surface. But all of them are part of the same lullaby. Their sleep is not isolation. It is communion, a shared stillness among stars that once blazed, but now rest together in gentle formation. Scientists continue to study them, not to wake them, but to understand what came before the quiet. By tracing their motions, their compositions, their histories, we learn about the rise and fall of star formation, about the ways galaxies change shape over time, about the slow cooling of the universe itself. These sleeping galaxies are like fossils, not of bones but of light, and they tell a story of how the cosmos ages, not with decay but with softness, not with loss but with transformation. And just as galaxies sleep, so too do other structures in the universe pause. Clouds of gas remain suspended in space, waiting for the right disturbance to collapse into stars. Planets orbit dark stars, moons drift in shadow, black holes slumber at the hearts of galaxies, pulsing faintly in radio silence. The universe has many forms of sleep, each with its own rhythm, each with its own kind of beauty. Sleep is not the opposite of activity, it is part of it, a necessary chapter in the story of everything. Perhaps what we learn from these galaxies is that rest is not weakness, that silence is not absence, that slowness can be sacred. In a world that often values speed and brightness, the cosmos offers a different lesson, the value of endurance, of stillness, of simply continuing. The sleeping galaxies continue. They do not fall apart. They do not vanish. They remain, held by gravity, shaped by memory, kissed by the faint light of stars that will outlive even our longest thoughts. And even if they never wake again, even if they drift forever in their golden hush, they are part of the universe's balance. They are part of its breath. Like resting mountains beneath the sky, they offer the background against which other galaxies blaze. Their stillness gives context. Their quiet gives meaning. The cosmos is not made only of motion. It is also made of pause. So next time you look into the night and find yourself searching for brilliance, remember the ones that rest. The galaxies that no longer burn with fury but glow with memory. The ones that no longer create but still cradle what they've made. Their sleep is a lullaby the universe hums to itself, a song of what was and what will be and what simply is. Let yourself be held by that song. Let yourself be reminded that you too are allowed to rest. You too are allowed to quiet. You too are part of a universe that knows how to slow down, how to let go, how to sleep. There is a strange and gentle truth in the fabric of the universe. Without darkness, there would be no light. Not in the poetic sense alone, but in the very structure of the cosmos. Light moves because space allows it to. It bends because gravity shapes the path ahead. And much of that gravity comes not from what we see, but from what we don't, from the silent, unseen presence of dark matter. It is the quiet sculptor of the stars, the invisible artist that arranges the galleries of galaxies and stretches the canvas of space. Darkness, though it does not shine, gives form to what does, and so the story of light begins not with a spark, but with a shadow. Imagine the early universe not long after the Big Bang. It was a glowing soup of particles and radiation, bright and hot and undivided. In this soup there were tiny ripples, small differences in density, faint whispers of gravity already at work. These were the first fingerprints of dark matter. It did not shine, but it gathered. It did not announce itself, but it pulled. Ordinary matter, protons, neutrons, electrons, drifted toward these quiet wells, settling into their curves. The darkness laid down the framework and the light followed. Stars were born in the shadows of unseen hands. It is dark matter that allowed galaxies to form. Without it, the particles of regular matter would have drifted too slowly, spread too thin across the expanding universe. But dark matter had no friction. It moved swiftly, shaping deep wells in the fabric of space where gravity could take hold. These wells became the birthplaces of galaxies, the roots of structure. In them gas collected, cooled and ignited. Stars flared to life, and from those first stars came all the others, the galaxies, the planets, the light that travels across the sky to this very night. It was all made possible by the invisible scaffolding that dark matter provided. Light rises where darkness has carved a space for it. Even now this shaping continues. Galaxies spin, not just by their own mass, but by the grip of dark matter halos wrapped around them. These halos are vast and soft and unseen, stretching far beyond the visible boundaries of stars. They guide the orbits, hold the structures, and keep the light in place. Without them, galaxies would not hold together. Their stars would fly apart, drifting into the void. But they don't. They stay, they orbit, they shine, because something unseen is holding them gently from behind. And then there is the way light bends. When a beam of light travels near a massive object, like a galaxy cluster, it curves, as if the path of space itself has changed. This bending, this lensing is not a trick. It is a truth. It tells us where the mass is, even if we cannot see it. And most of the time, the mass is not from stars or gas. It's from dark matter. We know it's there not because it glows, but because it shapes the glow of everything else. Like a hand under fabric, it lifts the shape without being seen. The light does not move in a straight line through the universe. It weaves around unseen gravity, dancing in response to darkness. There is poetry in this dance. The light we see, the stars that flicker, the galaxies that burn, the ancient beams that travel for billions of years, are not alone. They are not free, they are guided, held, directed. And that guidance comes from what we cannot touch. This is how darkness shapes the light. Not with force, but with invitation. Not with noise, but with presence. It lets the light curve. It lets it shine in paths it would never find on its own. It does not compete. It collaborates. And what about us? Our planet orbits a star that lies in a galaxy bound together by dark matter. Our sun is one of hundreds of billions, spinning in a spiral of light held in place by a halo of the unseen. Our Earth would not have formed where it did without the structure provided by this quiet framework. The light we depend on, the sunrises, the firelight, the distant glimmer of stars, all exists because something we cannot see shaped the world we live in. We are children of light, yes, but also children of darkness. Not the darkness of fear, but the darkness of structure, of balance, of space made ready for the miracle of brightness. Scientists chase dark matter not because they fear it, but because they are in awe of it. They build machines deep beneath the earth, hoping to detect a single flicker, a touch, a particle, a whisper. They peer through telescopes at the way galaxies move, the way light bends, the way space expands, and in all these clues, they find the same message. Darkness is not the absence of something. It is the presence of something else, something essential, something tender and immense. This is how darkness shapes the light. It offers a canvas. It provides the gravity that lets brightness bloom. It asks for no credit. It stays in the shadows. But without it, there would be no form, no path, no glow. Light is what we see, but darkness is what gives it meaning. Together they create everything we know, and maybe everything we are. Let us now follow the thread of light more closely, tracing how its journey is shaped by the quiet forces that surround it. Every beam of starlight, every glowing wisp of a nebula, every flicker from a distant quasar moves through a universe woven with dark matter. It travels not freely, but through a landscape subtly sculpted by unseen hands. And those hands, those halos, filaments, and wells of invisible mass, curve space so gently, so patiently that light itself must yield. It bends not in surrender, but in harmony, shifting its path to follow the contours of gravity laid out before it. The brighter the glow, the more it depends on the shadow that guides it. Scientists call this gravitational lensing, and it is one of the clearest clues we have about how darkness shapes the light. When we look through space at a distant galaxy, we sometimes see its light warped, smeared into arcs or mirrored into rings. This is not the galaxy's doing, nor the fault of our eyes. It is the veil of dark matter between us and the light, subtly folding the space it moves through. The galaxy we observe is still there, but its light has taken a curved road to reach us, winding around clusters, drifting along the edges of invisible mass. Like wind brushing against a mountain, light ripples and reforms, revealing the shape of things we cannot see. From this lensing, astronomers can map the darkness. They trace the distortions in the light to understand where the hidden mass lies. It is like reading a braille map of the universe, fingertips brushing over bumps and curves, finding pattern in what was once thought to be smooth. These maps show dark matter gathering in halos around galaxies, stretching into filaments between clusters, pooling in great invisible oceans of gravity. The light is the message, but the darkness is the ink. And the deeper we look, the more we find that this relationship runs through everything. The first stars that ever formed did so within halos of dark matter, where gravity pooled and gas cooled. Those stars lit up the early universe, pushing back the cosmic fog, revealing structure for the first time, but the structure was already there. Darkness had laid the groundwork. It had gathered the pieces. Light only came once the shape had been drawn. In that sense, dark matter did not just support creation, it welcomed it. It made room. It invited light into a universe prepared to receive it. Even today, this dance continues. Galaxies move along filaments of dark matter, streaming through space like beads on a string. Their light shows us where they are, but their paths are determined by the scaffolding beneath. These filaments are not just roots, they are stories. They tell us how galaxies grow, how they merge, how they drift apart. The patterns we see in the cosmos, the clusters, the voids, the walls of light, are not random. They are the fingerprints of the darkness that shaped them. And still, that darkness remains invisible to us, not because it hides, but because it does not shine. It does not absorb light. It does not reflect it. It allows light to pass through, curving its path, but never revealing its own. It is like the wind, felt but never seen, or the framework of a house, essential yet covered by the walls. Its silence is not a refusal but a choice. It allows the universe to unfold around it, asking for nothing in return. In the grand balance of things, we find something deeply humbling. The light that dazzles us, that inspires us, that guides our explorations across the stars, owes its shape to what we cannot detect. Without the darkness, the light would drift aimlessly. Without the mass that binds space, there would be no structure, no stars, no galaxies. We are not just beings of stardust, we are beings shaped by shadows, formed in light, yes, but held in place by the invisible hands of gravity. There is something comforting in this, that the universe, for all its brilliance, relies on quiet support, that what matters most is not always what sparkles, that strength does not need to be loud. In the cosmic story, darkness is not the villain. It is the backdrop, the steady rhythm behind the melody, the unseen harmony that lets the song exist at all. So when we look up, let us see more than stars. Let us see the journey of light through a landscape of gravity. Let us see the subtle shaping of darkness, making possible every glow, every glimmer, every soft fire in the sky. Let us remember that light is only part of the story, that its path, its origin, its survival, all depend on something deeper, and let that reminder settle into our own lives, that what holds us together may not be visible, that what gives us shape may not seek attention, that in the quiet pull of unseen things, beauty is born. Now let us imagine the quiet after the light has passed. The beam has curved, the galaxy has spun, the stars have flared and faded, and what remains is the gentle structure that held it all. The dark matter is still there, cradling what once burned brightly, still shaping what lies ahead. It asks for nothing, not to be seen, not to be thanked, but it continues. It is the keeper of paths, the silent cartographer of space. Even when the stars have blinked out and the night deepens into something colder, darker, quieter than we can yet comprehend, it will remain, holding, connecting, guiding. In the lingering, dark light itself becomes memory. The last photons glide through space, passing between the soft walls of gravity. They do not vanish, they stretch, slow, cool into echoes, and still the structure holds. The scaffolding does not collapse when the fire dims, it stays. The darkness is not a void, but a frame, strong enough to hold the afterglow of creation, wide enough to carry what's left of time. This is the story we rarely tell. The darkness is patient. It does not flicker. It does not age in the same way that stars do. It endures. Through collisions, through expansion, through the churn of galaxies and the quiet of their sleep, dark matter is there. It shaped the beginning and it will shape the end. It was present when light was born and it will remain long after light fades. That is not loss. That is not tragedy. It is continuity. It is grace. Some wonder if dark matter may evolve, if it might interact with itself or change over time, or reveal a new layer of physics we've yet to imagine. But whether it shifts or stays, its role remains profound. It reminds us that the universe is more than what we can measure, that truth is not always wrapped in brightness, that presence can be powerful even when it goes unnoticed. In a cosmos that constantly births and consumes light, the quiet existence of something stable, something ancient, something unshakable is not just important, it is essential. And we, the observers, are shaped by this same balance. We build our lives around the visible, sunrises, cities, faces, screens. But we are also shaped by the invisible, the gravity that holds us to earth, the air that moves without form, the love that binds without colour. The universe teaches us again and again that both are needed, that the seen and unseen are never in competition, they are in communion. Light shines not in spite of darkness, but because of it. And darkness, in turn, gives light its direction, its contrast, its stage. In this interplay there is poetry. The stars write letters into the dark, and the dark replies by holding them in place. The galaxies spiral not in chaos, but in response to unseen threads. Even the voids between clusters are not emptiness, but silence carved by gravity's hand. Everywhere we look, we find light shaped by what lies beneath. It is not only stars that give meaning to the sky, it is the space between them and the silence that lets them speak. And as we look outward, we also look inward. The structure of the universe reflects the structure of thought, of memory, of being. There are things we know and things we feel, things we illuminate and things we trust without proof. Just as galaxies follow invisible paths, we too are guided by unseen forces, the pull of longing, the rhythm of breath, the quiet gravity of hope. We move through a life shaped not just by what is bright, but by what waits behind it. So let the darkness remain. Let it hold the light as it always has. Let it continue its slow, sacred work of shaping space, guiding time, weaving stars into galaxies, and galaxies into a story so vast we can only whisper its outline. The light will continue to shine, and it will continue to curve. But now perhaps we will also see the frame, the gentle architecture of the invisible, the way darkness does not obscure the light but gives it its most perfect form. And in that understanding let there be peace. Let us rest in the knowledge that we are not alone in brightness, nor adrift in shadow. We are part of a balance so old, so delicate, so deeply woven into everything that even in the deepest dark we are still being held by gravity, held by mystery, held by a presence that asks for nothing but allows everything to be. Because this is how darkness shapes the light, not by standing against it, but by letting it shine exactly where it was always meant to. There is a kind of stillness that lives in the emptiest places of the universe, and it is not hollow. It is filled with memory, not the kind stored in books or brains, but a quieter kind, a memory etched into the very fabric of space itself. The vast voids between galaxies are not empty like an abandoned room. They are empty like a canvas, like a breath held just before a note is sung. And in that pause, in that space that seems forgotten, there is something deeply remembered. For even emptiness carries echoes. Even silence has shape. Even the places where there is almost nothing are still part of the everything that once was and still is. When we speak of space, we often imagine the gaps between stars, the dark between galaxies, the silence between bursts of light. But what we call empty is not truly void. In these stretches of space there are fields and fluctuations, particles that flicker in and out of existence, gravity that still reaches even where matter does not dwell. These are places where the cosmos breathes slowly, and where its oldest memories are preserved, not in colour or sound, but in the soft curvature of space-time itself. Every ripple in the vacuum, every stretching of distance, every cooling of background radiation is a remnant, a whisper from the beginning. At the heart of this emptiness lies the cosmic microwave background, a faint glow that fills all of space, left behind from a time when the universe was only 380,000 years old. This light, stretched thin by time, is the cooled remnant of the first light ever released, when the universe became transparent and photons could finally travel freely. We bathe in this light even now. It touches everything. It is older than stars, older than galaxies. It is the memory of heat, of formation, of the great unfolding. And it lingers not in the bright parts of space, but in the quietest corners. In the darkness, the memory remains. Physicists have discovered that even the vacuum of space is not truly nothing. Quantum fields ripple faintly in all directions, producing fleeting particles, virtual ghosts of matter, that appear and vanish in the blink of a thought. These fluctuations are part of the fabric of the cosmos. They are not mistakes. They are evidence that even nothingness has potential. That what we think of as void is, in fact, a sea of possibility. And within that possibility lies memory, not as a linear record, but as a presence. A field that remembers the rules of existence, the balance of forces, the quiet song of symmetry that underlies all things. The memory in empty space is not fixed like a fossil. It is fluid, dynamic, written in gravity and light. When two black holes collide, they send out ripples, gravitational waves that stretch space itself. These waves pass through galaxies, through planets, through our very bodies, carrying the memory of that collision across time. Long after the black holes have merged into one, the wave continues. The event is gone, but the space remembers. The universe does not forget movement. It does not forget mass. It holds the memory of every motion in its endless weave. Even the expansion of the universe, this slow, accelerating stretching of space, is a kind of memory, a reflection of the energy imprinted into the cosmos during its earliest moments. Dark energy, mysterious and vast, pushes galaxies apart at an ever-growing pace. It too is part of the memory that lives in the empty places, not as a conscious force, but as a continuation of conditions long established. It is the echo of beginnings, still at work, still unfolding. And then there is the structure of space itself, the geometric curves that Einstein described, where mass tells space how to bend and space tells matter how to move. This too is memory. Not the memory of events, but the memory of relationships. Where mass once was, space remembers. Where energy passes, space responds. It is a memory without time, a kind of presence that lives in the way things fall, the way light curves, the way gravity whispers in the quietest places. To walk through empty space, if such a thing were possible, is to pass through layers of ancient memory. You would not see them, but you would feel their presence in the way light stretches, in the way particles drift, in the silence between stars. You would pass through the afterglow of the Big Bang, through the shadows of vanished stars, through the gravitational fingerprints of things long gone. The space itself remembers, not in language but in form, not in thought but in law. It is a memory that never fades, because it was never recorded. It is simply part of what is. And perhaps this is why the universe feels so deep, so full, even in its emptiest parts. Because those parts are not truly empty, they are saturated with history, with force, with quiet continuity. They are not waiting to be filled. They are already full of presence. The memory inside empty space is not a memory of something lost. It is a memory of everything still holding together, of the rules that still apply, of the patterns that still ripple. And in that memory the universe keeps its shape. Let's drift deeper now into the still corridors of space, where the silence seems absolute, but the story never ends. The emptiest regions of the universe, those vast cosmic voids between clusters of galaxies, are not blank pages. They are palimpsests, layers of events inscribed upon one another. Eras written not in ink, but in expansion, in temperature, in curvature. Even in the coldest regions of intergalactic space, where not a single atom may drift for miles, the universe remembers. These are the places where the background whispers, where quantum fields tremble softly, where the oldest light still moves. It is here that we sense the presence of memory not as data, not as record, but as a kind of gravitational emotion. Each point in space has a potential, a curvature, a density, written into it by the events that have passed nearby. If a massive star once moved through a region, space itself was bent in response. And though the star may be long gone, space never truly forgets. The imprint lingers, subtle, yes, but real. Gravity holds the shape, motion holds the signature. Even when no observer was there to see it, the space remembers being moved. Gravitational lensing offers us a glimpse into these ghostly archives. As light passes through a region with mass, visible or not, it bends, and in its bending it tells a story. The warping of light reveals the presence of matter, often dark matter, invisible to the eye. But more than that, it reveals history. A cluster of galaxies warping the space around it is not just acting in the moment, it is revealing a past. How mass accumulated, how gravity pulled, how structure emerged. The light curves and the memory becomes visible. On even smaller scales, the memory continues. Inside every atom, particles blink into and out of possibility within quantum fields that span all of space. These fluctuations, the so-called quantum foam, aren't random noise. They follow patterns. They are shaped by the vacuum's properties, which are themselves shaped by the history of the universe. The fields carry traces of symmetry broken in the earliest moments after the Big Bang, when the universe cooled and separated into the forces and particles we know today. These were not isolated events, they were global events, and space itself holds the memory of how those transitions occurred. When scientists speak of the Higgs field, or the electroweak force, or the symmetry breaking that occurred a fraction of a second after the Big Bang, they are speaking of transformations in the memory of space. Space was once hotter, more unified, and then, like a dream folding into clarity, it crystallized. It chose shape, it chose structure, and those choices are preserved not in documents, but in how space responds to mass and energy today. It is a memory that underlies all physics, as stable as the ground beneath us, yet born in fire and fluctuation. And so the vacuum becomes not absence, but medium, a place where memory flows like a river beneath the surface. Every ripple of electromagnetic radiation, every wave of gravity, every flicker of a particle is not separate from that medium, it is part of it. The light from a distant quasar arrives shaped by billions of years of travel, twisted slightly by every gravitational knot, stretched by every swell of expansion. It is an ancient letter sent across time, and space has remembered its path. Nothing travels unchanged, nothing passes through the universe without leaving an echo behind. Even dark energy, the mysterious force behind the accelerating expansion of space, may be a kind of long-held memory. Some theories suggest it is a residue of the early vacuum state, a stored energy in the fabric of space that was never fully released. Others propose it is the natural state of the vacuum, quiet, persistent, and timeless. Either way, it is the backdrop upon which the entire drama unfolds, a memory so deep it has no beginning, so constant it seems like the silence between thoughts. The memory in empty space is also written in temperature. The cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, shines at just under 3 degrees above absolute zero. But that temperature is not perfectly smooth. It has tiny fluctuations, imprinted with the seeds of all the structure. These fluctuations are the earliest story the universe told, and they remain etched across the sky. Satellites like COBE, WMAP, and Planck have mapped this pattern with exquisite precision, reading the early memory like Braille, translating semblance into structure. And what emerges is astonishing. The universe remembers where it came from. Not in detail, not in names, but in the flow of forces, the balance of masses, the shape of space-time itself. Every galaxy is an echo of those first moments. Every atom is a child of those first waves. And the space between all things, the so-called void, is not a gap, but a witness. It carries within it the rhythm of what has been, the rules of what may come, and the calm of what endures. So next time you look up and see nothing between the stars, imagine the memory held there. The faint curve of gravity, the quiet field of possibility, the light still on its journey. The vacuum is not ignorance. It is not an absence of meaning. It is the most ancient part of meaning, still intact, still breathing. And in its breath the universe continues, not with shouts, but with stillness. Now imagine the universe long after the stars have dimmed, when the great fires of creation have cooled, and galaxies no longer burn with the energy of youth. What remains will not be silence, not truly. Even then, the empty spaces will hum with memory. The dark will not be empty. It will be full of all that ever was. The shape of space, stretched and curved by ancient gravity, will still whisper of motion. The vacuum will still shimmer faintly with the ghost of particles. The background radiation will linger, cooled to near nothingness, but still echoing that first fire. The universe, in its deep future, will still remember its birth, its blooming, its becoming. In this future, matter may be sparse. Stars will have collapsed into cold remnants. Planets will have long since wandered into isolation. Black holes may evaporate in the slow hiss of Hawking radiation. And yet, even as the visible fades, the memory will remain. The fabric of space will carry it. Not in words, but in its shape. Not in form, but in the very laws that still govern its unfolding. Physics, like a song played over and over across ages, will still hum beneath the surface. The rules written into the vacuum will continue, even when all the players have left the stage. What is left then is not a void, but a vast remembrance. The empty space is not a place without story. It is the story. It is the space where stars once burned, where galaxies once spun, where gravity once pulled with elegant resolve. And even when all of that has quieted, the space itself will remain, still imprinted with every ripple that ever passed through it. The gravitational waves, the fluctuations of particles, the fading traces of collisions, they do not vanish. They stretch out, they cool, they integrate into the quiet memory of space. And perhaps this is the deepest lesson the universe offers us, that memory is not a thing we keep, but something we are made of. That even in the absence of light, the story is not lost. It becomes subtle, it becomes structure, it becomes the very rules that shape the next unfolding. Just as every atom in your body was born in the heart of a star, every place in space was shaped by what once passed through it. You are made of remembered fire, standing inside remembered space, held in the curve of a story that began long before you opened your eyes to the sky. The memory inside empty space is not for us alone. It is not preserved for discovery. It simply is. It is the result of what happened, continuing to be true. The waves we make now, through movement, through thought, through breath, may one day become so subtle, so dispersed, that no mind will ever retrieve them. And still they will remain, still shaping, still echoing, still remembered in the tiniest stretch of distance between stars. We often think of memory as fragile, fading with time, lost in age, blurred by distance. But cosmic memory is different. It is not soft. It is woven into the bones of the universe. It is not written to be read, but to be lived. Every structure we see today, every cluster of galaxies, every filament of dark matter, every spiral of starlight is a fossil of motion, a preserved impression of action, a record written in the muscle of space-time. And these records do not fade. They transform. Even now, your body moves through space shaped by ancient events. You are pulled by gravity, are shaped by mass you cannot see, curved by fields laid down long before the Earth was born. The vacuum around you, seemingly empty, is laced with all the rules and ripples of what has ever been. Your atoms interact not just with each other, but with the gentle pressure of the cosmic background, with the subtle warp of the galaxy's curve, with the quantum fields that tremble around every breath. So much of what holds you in place is not visible, and yet it is constant. It is there in the background like a memory you don't know you carry, but which still shapes every step. Just as space holds the memory of galaxies, you hold the memory of stars. You are the product of 1,000 forgotten fires, 1,000,000 collisions, a network of time that connects you to the earliest moment the universe ever knew. You're not separate from this memory. You're part of it. And so when you look into the darkness and see nothing, let that nothing speak. Let it remind you that emptiness is not the opposite of meaning, that silence is not the absence of voice, that space in all its seeming stillness is alive with memory. It is the history of motion, the echo of energy, the gentle continuity of what came before still shaping what comes next. Because in the end, the memory inside empty space is not about what has passed. It is about what is still possible, what still endures, what still moves. The story never ends. It only softens, it only deepens, it only continues, written not in light but in the quiet, constant breath of the cosmos. There may come a time when the universe forgets its face, not out of carelessness, but through the long and gentle erosion of memory by time. A time when galaxies have dimmed beyond recognition, when stars have aged into shadows, and even the radiant glow of the earliest light has cooled into silence. This is not a frightening forgetting. It is a natural part of cosmic time, a slow vanishing not of things, but of certainty. The universe, once bright with purpose, will not end with a bang or a blaze. It will simply drift beyond reflection, like a face in water slowly losing shape as the ripples stretch outward. In the early ages, the universe knew itself in light. Galaxies swirled in delicate spirals. Stars burst into life and faded into dust. The cosmic web traced filaments of structure through space like veins through a great sleeping body. All of this shimmered with the presence of dark matter, unseen, but known by the way it shaped motion and light. There was identity then, clear, bright, full of form. But identity is not fixed. It is borrowed from what surrounds it. And what surrounds the universe now is the quiet tug of acceleration, the strange, soft pull of dark energy, stretching everything farther apart. With each passing billion years, galaxies move more swiftly from one another. Their light, already faint, shifts deeper into the red, becoming invisible to the eye and eventually unreachable by even our finest instruments. The night sky that once sang with constellations and glowing arms will empty. Stars will vanish from view not because they die, but because they drift beyond the edge of sight. The face of the universe, the shape we traced in starlight, will begin to blur. Its features will fade like breath on a window pane. And as this expansion continues, observers in the far future, if any remain, will see only darkness around them. Their telescopes will reveal no galaxies beyond their own, no echo of a Big Bang, no cosmic microwave background to suggest a fiery beginning. Space will appear still and eternal, as though it has always been that way. The memory of the universe's youth, so vivid to us now, will be lost to them. The past will be unreachable. The face of the cosmos will be masked by distance and silence. Yet the forgetting is not cruel, it is soft, it is gradual. It is the kind of forgetting that happens when a story ends not with punctuation, but with the final turning of a page. The laws of physics will remain. The particles will still obey their fields. But the context, the history, the brilliant map of what once was, these will dissolve into the quiet flow of expansion. Time will no longer carry echoes, only the faint rhythm of particles drifting through the long twilight. Still, even in this future, the universe is not empty of meaning. The shape may be gone, but the presence remains. The dark matter halos will continue to cradle their galaxies, even if those galaxies dim. Black holes will still anchor the centers of what remains. The stars that do survive, red dwarfs, long-lived and steady, will burn for trillions of years, tiny sparks in a vast and deepening dark, and around them planets may continue to orbit, warmed by flickers, kissed by ancient radiation. Memory may fade, but structure lingers. It is written into the behavior of matter itself. Every rotation of a star, every orbit of a planet, is a kind of remembrance, of motion, of force, of relationship. These relationships hold even when names and shapes are lost. The forgetting is not the end of being, it is simply a shift, a change in how the universe holds itself, a transition from self-reflection to pure presence. We can see the beginning of this forgetting even now. The universe is expanding faster than ever. The cosmic horizon grows more distant with each second. More and more galaxies are falling out of view, becoming unreachable forever. The signals we send may never arrive. The ones we wait for may never come. But still, we keep listening, we keep looking. Because in the act of observing, we preserve the face of the universe just a little longer. And even if no one is left to remember, the memory was once held. That matters. The stars existed. The galaxies danced. The web stretched across space like silk spun by ancient forces. And we were here to witness it, to give it names, to trace its patterns, to wonder. When the universe forgets its face, it will not grieve. It will continue, it will stretch, it will quiet. And that quiet will be its new identity. Not lesser, not broken, simply different. A face no longer outlined by stars, but by the space they once lit. A self no longer reflected in mirrors of light, but carried in the soft laws that endure. And perhaps in some deep way, forgetting is just another form of remembering, one that lets go of details but holds on to essence. One that stops looking outward and simply becomes what it is. The universe may forget its face, but still it will never stop being. Let us now float further into this quiet unravelling, this soft and dignified forgetting that will stretch across the deepest ages of time. The galaxies, once the vibrant freckles of the universe's youthful phase, will have receded beyond the reach of light. What was once a crowded night sky, bursting with stars and wonder, will become a vast field of solitude. There will be no clear horizon, no visible neighbours, only the slow, drifting embers of aging stars and the cold hush of expansion. Yet even in this great silence, the universe will not be broken. It will simply be older, and in its age, it will carry a different kind of grace, one that no longer needs to be seen to be whole. Inside the galaxies that remain, the transformation continues. Star formation, once common and furious, slows to a trickle. The gas that once birthed stars is either used up or blown away. The last bright stars have long since faded into white dwarfs, neutron stars and quiet black holes. The remaining stars are small and red, faint and long-lived, slow-burning fires that keep time in centuries rather than seconds. Around them, planetary systems drift in silence, perhaps still warm, perhaps not, their worlds locked in frozen orbits that will last longer than memory itself. And at the centre of many galaxies, massive black holes continue to wait. These ancient engines, once fed by rivers of gas and stellar collisions, now sleep. They emit no light. They draw no matter. They are invisible, yet they remain the heaviest hearts of galaxies that have forgotten how to shine. In these collapsed centres lies a deep kind of permanence, a memory not of form but of pull, a reminder that even as light slips away, gravity endures. It is the last architecture, the last breath, the last echo of a universe that once was luminous. There will be no calendars in this future, no ticking clocks to mark the flow of time. Only motion will remain, soft and slow and nearly imperceptible. Black dwarfs may begin to form, stellar remnants so cold and dim that they no longer shine at all. These stars will not burn, they will remember. Their atoms will hold the structure of what they once were, and some, after untold eons, may decay or collide or spark in the dark with flashes that speak of ancient heat. But these events will be rare. The universe will be quiet not by accident, but by design. Even the voids between galaxies will stretch wider. The threads of the cosmic web, once tight and glowing, will slacken and fade into invisibility. The structure will not vanish, but it will become too vast to trace. The universe will lose its boundaries, not in collapse, but in dispersion. The distances between things will grow so great that even gravity may falter, unable to hold matter together against the swell of expansion. What was once shaped will unshape, what was once named will unname. The features of the universe's face will dissolve like morning frost beneath the slow sun of time. And yet none of this is loss. It is simply change. The universe is not bound to our idea of permanence. It does not cling to its youth. It does not mourn its brightness. Instead, it evolves with patience. It accepts that the forms it once held, the spirals, the stars, the webs of matter and light, were temporary ways of being. The forgetting is not a failure to remember, but a letting go of form. The universe forgets its face so that it may become something new, something undefined, something at peace. There is still motion in this future, but it is no longer directed toward growth. It is motion as presence, as continuation. Particles drift. Space expands. The low hiss of background radiation cools to a murmur, then to a silence that even light cannot find its way through. But this silence is not void. It is full of history, written in the way the vacuum breathes, the way particles still obey the rules, the way gravity bends even when no one watches. Observers in this distant age, if they exist, may never know the story we have told. They may live in isolated galaxies with no way to detect the others. They may build their sciences on a smaller canvas, with no evidence of the great beginning, no relics of the Big Bang, no cosmic background to study. To them, the universe may seem static, eternal, unchanging. And yet, unknowingly, they will still be held by the echoes of the true story. The same gravity, the same constants, the same hidden memory folded into every particle. Even if they do not know, they will still belong. Perhaps that is the most remarkable thing, that the memory does not need to be remembered to remain. It is carried not in thoughts or texts, but in space itself, in the way things move, in the way matter curves, in the balance of energies that even now keep our world intact. The forgetting of the universe's face is not the end of truth. It is the truth letting go of form, of image, of outline. What remains is essence. So if the stars must go out, let them do so with dignity. Let them dim knowing they gave shape to worlds, gave light to eyes, gave warmth to beings who once wondered. And if galaxies drift too far to be seen, let them know their paths still matter. The arcs they carved in space will never be unwritten. The universe may one day forget its reflection, but never its rhythm. Because even when the mirror grows dark, even when the image fades, the being remains. The cosmos is more than what it shows, it is what it holds. Let us now imagine the final pages of the cosmic story, not as an end, but as a soft unfolding into something formless yet full. The universe, having shed its luminous outlines, having quieted its symphony of stars, will continue on in a language we no longer recognize. It will not stop. It will not fall. It will not collapse into silence with finality. Instead, it will continue in a state of long exhalation, a stretch of space that holds no more structure, no more fire, but still holds everything it ever was. This is not decay, it is rest. It is the face forgotten so fully that only the soul remains. In this distant epoch, time will have no punctuation. The days of light and shadow will have long passed. There will be no new galaxies, no new stars, no new collisions to mark the drama of change. And yet, in the vast stillness, dark matter will remain, unseen, still cradling the remnants of what once lived. Its gentle gravity will persist, not in service to structure, but as memory itself, holding atoms in place, letting space curve ever so slightly toward what once was. Even as particles decay, even as matter dissolves into faint radiation, the dark scaffolding endures, like the bones of an ancient cathedral left standing after the songs have all faded. There may come a time when black holes, the last great actors on the cosmic stage, begin to fade as well. Hawking radiation, slow and patient, will whisper them away, not with violence but with the persistence of time itself. These giants, which once devoured stars and bent light into ribbons, will return their mass to the universe's soft particles, drifting quietly into the dark. And when the final black hole exhales its last quantum breath, the cosmos will be left with no structures, no lights, only the wide and gentle field of space, smooth, cool, and vast beyond imagining. This is what it means for the universe to forget its face. The curves that once marked galaxies will have flattened. The motions that once danced through filaments will have stilled. The light that once etched identities into the night sky will have travelled too far to matter. The memory of form will no longer live in what is seen, but in the rules that remain. The universe will still obey its laws, still hold its constants, still breathe in quantum rhythms and gravitational stretches, but without the image, without the mirror, without the name. And yet that is not a lesser universe. It is simply one that no longer seeks reflection. It is presence without performance. It is being without display, just as an old tree, leafless and still, holds within its rings the memory of every season it has lived. So too will this future cosmos hold the echoes of every star that burned, every planet that formed, every atom that ever existed. The story will not be written in light anymore. It will be written in balance, in quiet, in the stability that comes after all motion has softened. If we were there to see it, if some impossible witness remained, we would find peace, not despair. There would be no sound but no suffering, no light but no loss. Just a slow continuation of existence in its most distilled form. The drama would be done, but the stage would still be there, unlit but whole. Perhaps this is the final truth, that even when all identities fade, even when every map is blank and every mirror is dark, what remains is still the universe. Not less than before, just quieter, older, still holding itself together with the same laws, the same deep rhythms that began it all. And what of us, who live so far before that time? We, who look into telescopes and trace the arms of galaxies, who measure the curvature of space and the faint glow of ancient light. We are the memory keepers of the present. We are the ones who name the stars, chart their motion, write down what the universe shows us while it still wears its face. Our maps will one day vanish, our records erased by entropy, but for now, we hold the mirror, we witness, and through that witnessing, we become part of the story. Even as the universe forgets its face, it does not forget us. Not as individuals, not as civilizations, but as participants in its great unfolding. The atoms that carry our thoughts will one day be dust, and that dust will drift through space that no longer remembers where it came from. But even in the forgetting we will have been, we will have added shape to the face while it was visible. We will have left motion, warmth, observation. We will have mattered. So let the universe forget, when it must. Let the light run out, the stars go dark, the structure dissolve. Let it all become smooth again. But let us also remember here and now that it had a face once, that it dreamed in spirals and burned in fire, that it echoed with collisions and shimmered with light, and that in the brief flicker of our own time we saw it, we named it, we loved it. For in that seeing, that naming, that loving, we made the forgetting beautiful. We gave it grace, and when the last light fades, it will not fade into nothing, it will fade into presence, into the soft breath of a cosmos no longer asking who it is, but simply being in the fullest, quietest way a universe can be. Now let us close this journey not with an ending, but with a resting place, a place where the universe, aged and unhurried, lies gently beyond memory. In this place there are no sharp lines, no loud patterns, no burning cores. Everything has softened. Motion is still there, but it has lost urgency. Energy still flows, but it no longer shouts. The universe no longer searches for form, it simply breathes, as a sea breathes after the wind has gone quiet. And though it has forgotten its face, forgotten the spirals of galaxies, the songs of stars, the flickers of beginnings, it has not lost itself. It has become its own stillness. There is a kind of peace in this forgetting, a peace that cannot be rushed, that does not fear the absence of names. The particles that remain still hum with their ancient charges, their identities etched not in memory but in being. Even if no one observes them, even if no light ever reflects off them again, they still obey the same symmetries that govern the universe from its earliest breath. Those symmetries, those elegant laws of balance and motion, are the final reflection of what once was, not images in a mirror, but truths folded into space. In this great forgetting we find not erasure but continuity. The story has shed its pages, but the binding holds. The map has faded, but the terrain remains beneath our feet. The universe has not ended, it has entered a state beyond recognition, and yet it is still here, quietly, beautifully, entirely. It does not ask to be known anymore. It does not seek to shine. It has nothing left to prove. Its very presence is enough. Perhaps this is the ultimate lesson. That identity is not in how loudly something declares itself, but in how faithfully it endures. That even when the face is forgotten, the soul remains. The universe no longer speaks in stars, but it still speaks. In fields, in time, in the gentle persistence of structure where nothing else remains. The forgetting is not abandonment. It is a kind of grace, a dissolving back into origin, a return, and we are far from that place now. We live in a time of brightness, of form, of memory sharpened into science. We look out and see a universe full of shape, filaments stretching across space, galaxies blooming in webs of motion, light echoing from ancient fire. We are the observers, the rememberers. We write down what we see, we map the light. We give the universe a mirror while it still has a face to reflect. But even as we chart the stars, we know they will not last. Even as we measure time, we know it will stretch far beyond our grasp. We are part of a process much older than ourselves, and far longer than we will ever see, and that too is beautiful. Because though we may not witness the universe's final form, we know it will be whole, it will carry on, it will fade with dignity, not into chaos, but into calm. And maybe, in some distant part of time, something else will come. Maybe new patterns will emerge from the silence. Maybe space will breathe a new rhythm, born not from memory, but from possibility. Or maybe not. Maybe the universe will remain in its stillness, a vast cold sea, holding the warmth of all that came before, like the echo of a lullaby long after the song has ended. Either way, the story is complete. The face of the universe was never just stars and galaxies. It was the movement between them, the relationships, the gravity, the light that passed from one to another. It was the shape made by the whole. And even when those shapes are gone, even when the outlines blur and the features melt into space, what held them together remains. That unity, that breath, that deep structure. That is what the universe has always been. That is what it still is. So if you find yourself someday staring into a night sky that has gone dark, remember, darkness is not the absence of life. It is the form it takes when it rests. The universe may forget the brilliance of its youth, but it does not forget how to be. It continues, it curves, it breathes, and in its forgetting, it reminds us of the deepest truth, that being is enough. And as we lay down the mirror, as we step back from the face we once knew, we do not say goodbye. We simply listen, because even without a voice, the universe speaks. Even without a face, it still sees, and even without light, it still holds us, all of us, in its vast and eternal embrace.